Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is November 27th, 2025, and we do have a new candidate for the Barcelona presidency. Also, both Xavi and Messi have snubbed Joan Laporta. And finally, bad news because Fermin Lopez has picked up an injury. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mo, and as you know, I'm still traveling. I'm still out of my home, away from my YouTube studio. This is why I'm doing this short live to bring you all Barcelona news. This is not a podcast, so I won't be reading the comments live. This is, again, just to keep you updated while I'm still on the road. By the way, fun fact, right now I'm recording in the bathroom because I'm staying at a hotel where it doesn't have a desk. When have you seen a hotel room with no desk? I don't know. So the only place I can put my computer and my camera is the bathroom counter. So yes, I'm not even kidding. I'm in the bathroom. Anyways, let's start with the news because, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a new candidate for the Barcelona presidency, and his name is Xavi Messi. Now, as you know, we have elections next year, 2026. So far, Joan Laporta and Victor Font have announced their candidacies, of course. The two of them running, well, Laporta running for re-election, Victor Font running again for election, and now we have a third candidate who is Xavi Messi. He's no stranger to the club. He's been at the club for over 21 years. He came up through the academy. He played futsal. He was also part of the last three administrations, so definitely someone who's very familiar with the club. In fact, he had a hand with bringing Lamine Yamal to the club. So again, someone who's been around for a long time, and today he announced his candidacy for the Barcelona presidency with some pretty interesting statements explaining what his platform is about, but also hitting really hard at Joan Laporta's presidency. Now, this is what Xavi Villanova, oh, hold on, had to say during his presentation, and I don't know why this is not really working with me. Hold on a minute. I'm having a little bit technical difficulties. This is what happens when you have to do videos on the road. So let me see if I could fix this real quick. My slides stopped working for some reason. The internet is also pretty bad, but all right, let's see. I think I'm gonna have this working for you pretty soon. Let me see. Um, Sorry about that, guys. Anyways, yeah, like I said, I'm literally recording in the bathroom. And I'm sitting on a suitcase, by the way. I have no chair. I'm sitting on a suitcase. But here we go. All right. We finally got the slide to work because this is the thing when you're working out of a tiny, tiny laptop and a small camera. But these are the statements that Xavi Messi had when he announced his candidacy. First, he described his proposal as powerful, necessary, and focused on putting the members back at the heart of the club. He also said, explaining why he's running for presidency, he said, it's a natural step. My father was a board member. I was a futsal player and then a board member under the last three presidents, Laporta, Roche, and Bartomeu, with responsibilities in futsal youth development, La Masia, and the women's team. And again, when he was in charge or he worked in La Masia, he had a hand in bringing Lamine Yamal to the club. He also said that's 21 years linked to the club, which leaves a huge mark on you. Now, Xavi Villanueva continued, said, and this is where he started hitting at Joan Laporta, saying the club has become his stolen Masia. We have a man at the helm who is sailing aimlessly without strategy or seriousness. I don't see any of the values that have made us great. Insane would be the adjective. The members are worried about the 4 billion, talking about the club's debt. Nobody is explaining anything to them. They call and get no answer. The feeling is that the club is hiding and there must be a reason for that. So Xavi Villanueva hitting at Joan Laporta, saying that he's running the club aimlessly and that he's continuously hiding the ball. And with that, I do agree. I think John Laporta has been hiding a lot of the ball, especially with the numbers, especially with the finances. I've discussed it in a myriad of videos. I'm not going to go over it again. But I do agree with Xavi Villajuana's assessment here, where Laporta continuously either fudges the numbers or hides the numbers completely, and we don't really have a real picture of how the club is doing financially. Now, Xavi Villajuana continued talking about Messi. The first person who needs to talk about Messi is Laporta. We have to ask him why he isn't staying with us, because it wasn't a financial issue. Messi is an asset to the club. Nobody can take ownership of a Barca legend. Here he does have a point because, as we know, yes, Messi's salary was incredibly high, 100 million euros a year or a season. However, he did generate 300 million. So he generated 3 times what he actually earned. So he does have a point here where, okay, yeah, sure, it would have been expensive to keep him, but it was more expensive to lose him. And of course, we do need an answer on why Messi left. Now, Xavi Villajuana continues talking about regarding the management of the return to the Spotify Camp Nou. He said that there's a lack of transparency and trivialization of a unique and extremely complex project, which again, I do agree with that assessment as well. I think the Camp Nou, with the whole different dates telling us it was November, December, February, April, May, August, September, and then finally opened in November a year late. It was definitely, not a lot of transparency when it came to the return of the Camp Nou. So finally, the Xavi Villajuana finished with the following in regards to his own project. Said the club's best asset is our players. La Masia is something that should be exported. We must have the capacity to develop players for the first team and also for other markets with international agreements in South America or Africa. Our Haaland isn't at Manchester City. Our Haaland is at La Masia. Now, he described his program that his program would guarantee ordinary income and strengthen the sporting project. And then finally, he said, the soul of Barca is its people. I will give my all, not for myself, but for all the members. This is their moment. We are ready to bring our Barca back. So here, Xavi Villajuana kind of like touching a little bit on what his project would be, increasing income, strengthen the sporting project, and of course, saying that La Masia is our biggest strength, where it develops so much talent that we should be exploiting that, right? Keeping the best players for our first team. That way we generate money through our first team winning things, but also exporting the other talent that we don't use for the first team, and therefore generating money like a lot of other clubs do, right? Like Sporting CP or Benfica. These are clubs who grow players and then sell them for crazy amounts of money. We could be doing that. So this is kind of like an overview of the platform that Xavi Villajuana will be running on. Of course, I do welcome more candidates. I think more candidates is better. The more candidates, the more choices we have, more options we have. And that only can mean good things for Barcelona, even though I honestly believe that John Laporta is going to win. I think it would take something very catastrophic for Laporta not to win. Anyways, let's move on to the next bit of news, because we do have bad news. Barcelona have confirmed that Fermin Lopez has been injured. But before we talk about Fermin Lopez, let's talk about the snub. Because, ladies and gentlemen, both Xavi and Messi have snubbed John Laporta. Now, you might be wondering, why is there a picture of the Camp Nou on your screen? That's because John Laporta is planning a grand opening for the Camp Nou. As you know, we're back at the Camp Nou. We played against Athletic Club de Bilbao. We're also going to be playing against Alaves. And even though there was a small presentation, some fireworks and things of that sort at the Athletic Club de Bilbao match, John Laporta wants kind of like a big, mega grand opening of the Camp Nou, and it's reported that he has called both Xavi Hernandez and Lionel Messi to attend this grand opening, but it's being revealed that the entourages of both former players have actually snubbed Laporta. They don't want to attend the event. They don't want pictures with John Laporta. Of course, with Messi, we know he still has a bad relationship with John Laporta after he was forced to leave the club. And as far as Xavi Hernandez, well, we all know how that ended. So both Barcelona legends snubbing John Laporta and will not be attending the grand opening of the Camp Nou. And now we move on to the bad news, because, ladies and gentlemen, Fermin Lopez has suffered an injury to the soleus of his right leg, and as a result, he will be out for 2 weeks. Now, it looks like Fermin Lopez suffered a bad hit against Athletic Club Bilbao, against Oyan Sanset. That's the foul that caused Oyan Sanset to receive a red card and be expelled out of the match. It looks like after that hit, Fermin Lopez had some discomfort, but he was good enough to play. So, of course, he played the Champions League against Chelsea, but that aggravated the injury, and now he will be out for 2 weeks. So definitely bad news on that front, because we know Fermin Lopez has been one of the very few players that have been giving it their all in these last few weeks. But the silver lining, it's a minor injury, so he's only expected to be out 2 weeks. Hopefully it's less, but that's what the initial forecast is. So some of the important matches that Fermin Lopez will miss will most likely be Atletico Madrid and, of course, Eintracht Frankfurt in the Champions League. But don't worry, because from bad news, we move on to good news, because guess who trained today with the group? It was no other than Pedri. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Pedri trained today with the group with total normalcy. And by now, you know what that means. That means that Pedri is ready to come back. And in fact, he's expected to be included in the squad list against Alaves for tomorrow's match. So that's definitely great news, because again, as I've always said, I believe Pedri is the most important player of our squad, the best midfielder in the world. So it's really good news that he is back. Now, let's end today's video with some nominations, because yes, La Liga have announced the nominations for the best awards of the month. And we start with the nominees for the best coach of the month, because we have three nominees. We have, of course, Hansi Flick, we have Marcelino from Villarreal, and we have El Cholo Simeone from Atletico de Madrid. We also have the nominees for the best player of the month, and amongst them we have Lamine Yamal, Gerard Moreno, Kylian Mbappe, Oyarzabal, and Antoine Griezmann. And then we have the best under 23 player of the month, and amongst them we have Moleiro, Birmingham, Fermin Lopez, Valentin Gomez, and Alvaro Rodriguez. And of course, my question to you is, who do you think is going to win? If you ask me, I think from the best under 23 player, it's going to be Fermin Lopez. Best player, I think, is going to be Kylian Mbappe, because he's been pretty much carrying Real Madrid by himself. And out of the best coaches, this one's a little tough for me, but I think it might be Marcelino from Villarreal, because after all, Marcelino has been doing a great job. But again, I want to hear you guys' predictions. Let me know down below in the comment section. And of course, if you want to vote, go to La Liga's website, laliga.com, and you can vote for the best coach, best player, and best under 23 player of the month. And that's all I have for you. I will be going live in a few more minutes, so stay tuned to the channel, because of course there is more news. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always, Visca Barça.